Sometimes life just throws you for a loop, right? I was just sipping my coffee one morning, scrolling through my phone, when I saw Serafina's new single trending, her big album release day finally here. But then I clicked, and it was my song, the one I wrote in my darkest time, only now it was hers. My cousin actually stole my song and claimed it as hers, making my stomach drop, and, honestly, I couldn't believe what was happening, could you? Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I'd love to know. My whole life, music has been my anchor, my secret language. I'm a Lara, and ever since I was a little kid, I've just felt things deeply, and those feelings always came out in melodies, in lyrics. Our old garage, messy and cold, became my sanctuary, my own little studio with a cheap mic, a second-hand guitar, and a laptop that groaned a bit, but it worked. I'd spend hours there, just me and the music, pouring my entire soul into every note, every word. It wasn't about fame or money, not for me. It was about creating something real, something that vibrated with truth, something that made sense of all the swirling chaos inside. My parents, bless their hearts, they didn't quite get it, but they never stopped me. As long as you're happy, honey, my mom would always say, a gentle smile on her face, and that was enough. Serafina, my cousin, she was different. Always had been. She was the flashy one, the pretty one, the one who wanted to be seen, to be adored. When we were kids, she'd sing pop songs loudly, off-key, at family gatherings, soaking up every bit of attention, while I'd usually be tucked away somewhere, strumming quietly, lost in my own world. As we grew up, her ambition grew too, morphing into this hungry desire to be a pop star. She'd take singing lessons, dance classes, always chasing the spotlight, even if it meant stepping on a few toes along the way. I never saw it as a threat, though. She was family, right? My cousin, my blood. I trusted her, completely, blindly almost. We shared secrets, dreams, laughter. Or so I thought. One specific song, though, that one was different. It wasn't just a song, it was a piece of my soul. I wrote it during a time when my grandmother, my Nana, was really sick. She was my rock. The person who always understood me without words, who saw the music in my heart even when it was silent. Watching her fade, feeling that helpless ache, it was crushing. That song, Echoes of a Whisper, it just flowed out of me. Every chord, every lyric, was a raw, unfiltered expression of grief, of love, of the quiet strength she had, of the void she'd leave behind. It was too personal to ever share publicly, I thought, too vulnerable. But I played it for Serafina once, late at night, in that old garage, the only person I felt could truly grasp its weight. She cried, I remember that, tears streaming down her face, and she hugged me so tight. Elara, she whispered, her voice thick, that's beautiful, truly beautiful. It could be huge. I just shook my head. It's not for that, Seth. It's for Nana. And she seemed to understand. Or so I thought. I made a few demo recordings, just rough cuts, but they captured the raw emotion perfectly. I kept them on my laptop, guarded like precious jewels. Sometimes, Serafina would come over to hang out, and she'd often ask to hear my new stuff, always curious about what I was working on. I'd let her listen, proud to share my passion with someone who seemed to appreciate it, especially the technical side. I even showed her how I layered the vocals, how I built the harmonies, explained the simple, raw production choices. Looking back, I realize now she was just observing, absorbing. She even took a copy of some of my demos. She said it was just a listen on her own, to give feedback, and I never thought twice about it. Don't worry, I won't share them with anyone, she'd promised, her eyes wide and innocent, and I believed her. What a fool I was, right? Then came that morning. It was just a regular Tuesday. Sunlight streaming through my window, coffee brewing, the gentle hum of the city waking up. I was scrolling through my music feed, just minding my own business, when I saw a huge banner ad for Serafina's debut album, Radiant Echoes. The lead single, Whispers in the Dark, was officially out. My stomach did a weird flip-flop, a mix of apprehension and something else. I clicked. The intro started, a familiar, delicate piano melody, just like mine. My breath hitched. Then her voice, layered and polished, started to sing, and it was my lyrics, slightly altered, dressed up in a glossy, pop production, but undeniably, unmistakably my song. The exact phrasing, the emotional arc, the chorus, and the whispers in the dark, they still echo in my heart. A slight change from my echoes of a whisper, but the essence, the core, was ripped straight from my soul. My hands started to shake, spilling coffee on my shirt. It felt like someone had reached inside my chest and pulled something vital out. I slammed the laptop shut, the sound echoing in the sudden silence of my apartment. No, this couldn't be real. My mind was reeling, spinning, trying to make sense of what just happened. I tried to calm myself down, taking deep, shaky breaths. Maybe it was a crazy coincidence? No. The melody, the chord progression, the lyrical themes, too close. Way too close. It was a direct lift. My cousin, my own flesh and blood, had stolen my song. The song I wrote for Nana. The song I trusted her with. A cold, hard knot formed in my gut. I felt sick, physically sick. My fingers fumbled for my phone, my vision blurring a little. I had to confront her. I just had to. I called her, my voice tight and strained, barely above a whisper. Serafina, I started, trying to keep my voice even. I just heard your new single. A pause on her end, a little too long. Then a chirpy, fake-sounding laugh. Oh, isn't it amazing, Alara? Everyone's loving it. This is finally my big break. My blood ran cold. Serafina, that's my song. Whispers in the dark, it's echoes of a whisper. My song for Nana. You changed the title, a few words, but it's mine. Her chipper tone vanished, replaced by a defensive snap. What are you talking about, Alara? Are you crazy? I wrote that song. It came to me in a dream last year after our Nana passed. It was inspired by our grief, our connection, you know. She sounded so convincing, so confident, it made me doubt myself for a split second. Then the anger flared. No, you didn't. You heard my demo, you took a copy. Don't you dare lie to me. Oh, that old demo, she scoffed, a sneer in her voice. Honey, we talked about that, remember? You had a concept, I took it and made it something real, something commercial. It was a collaboration, really. You were stuck, I brought it to life. I did all the work, all the production. The writing credits are mine. You wouldn't have done anything with it anyway. You just sit in your dusty garage, making little tunes for yourself. This is what real artists do, Alara. We create. We produce. We achieve. Each word was a punch to my gut, twisting the knife further. Collaboration? I was barely surviving, and she was turning my raw pain into her glossy success. I couldn't breathe. You stole it, I choked out, tears finally blurring my vision. You absolutely stole it. She laughed again, a hollow, dismissive sound. Honey, in this industry, inspiration is everywhere. Besides, who's going to believe you? A nobody against a rising star with a record deal? Please. Just be happy for me, Alara. Or maybe you're just jealous, aren't you? And then she hung up. The dial tone buzzed, a mocking sound in my ear. I was numb. I felt completely, utterly devastated. My first instinct was to go to Aunt Carol and Uncle David, Serafina's parents, my aunt and uncle. They'd understand, right? They'd know Serafina was in the wrong. I drove over, my hands still shaking, my mind a whirlwind of hurt and disbelief. I explained everything, playing my original demo, then her polished track. My voice was cracking, tears streaming down my face. Aunt Carol listened, her face tight, but Uncle David just waved his hand dismissively. Alara, sweetie, Aunt Carol said, her voice soft but firm. Serafina works so hard. You two are just having creative differences. She said you showed her an idea and she developed it. You know how these things go, right? Inspiration comes from everywhere. You're both talented, but Serafina, she's really going for it. Uncle David nodded. Yeah, Alara, don't be a sore loser. Your cousin's about to make it big. This is just petty jealousy, isn't it? Family supports family. You should be proud of her, not tearing her down. Humiliation washed over me, a hot, suffocating wave. They didn't believe me. They thought I was jealous. They were choosing her, her ambition, over my truth, over my pain. I left their house, feeling smaller, emptier than I ever had before. The world felt like it was closing in, and I was utterly alone, adrift, my heart shattered into a million pieces. The next few weeks were a blur of aching disbelief and festering anger. Serafina's song, Whispers in the Dark, started to gain traction, first on local radio stations, then popping up in playlists online. Every time I heard it, a fresh wave of nausea hit me, a sickening reminder of her betrayal and my family's dismissal. It wasn't just a song, it was my story, my raw grief for Nana, twisted and polished into a commercial product, and she was getting all the credit, all the praise, all the attention. People commented on her vulnerability, her soulful voice, her heartbreaking lyrics that were mine. I felt utterly helpless, like my artistic identity had been violently ripped away and paraded as someone else's triumph. I called Liam, my best friend since high school, who's also a brilliant sound engineer and musician. He's the only one who truly understands my musical language, my process, and has always been my honest sounding board. He'd helped me record those early demos, even knew how precious Echoes of a Whisper was to me. I played him Serafina's version, then my original. He listened in silence, his expression darkening with each note. When it finished, he just shook his head, a grim line to his lips. "Alara, I'm so sorry. This is blatant. It's absolutely your song. No question." His words were a small comfort, a tiny crack in the wall of my isolation, but the relief was fleeting. "What do I do, Liam?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper, filled with despair. "Can I sue her? Can I prove it?" Liam sighed, running a hand through his messy hair. "You could, Alara, but it's an uphill battle. Family disputes are messy, and often, without clear, undeniable paper trails, it comes down to she said. Especially if she's starting to get a bit of buzz. Lawyers are expensive, very expensive. And what if it drags on for years? You'd be emotionally drained, financially ruined. Plus, there's the PR nightmare of cousin sues cousin. It might even hurt your reputation, painting you as bitter or jealous." The truth of his words hit me hard, a cold splash of reality. He wasn't wrong. I didn't have the resources, the connections, or the stomach for a protracted legal fight against my own family, especially when they were already against me. The humiliation deepened, settling heavy in my bones. It felt like Serafina had won, before the game even truly began. For a while, I retreated. The garage, my sanctuary, now felt tainted. I couldn't bring myself to pick up my guitar, to sing, to create. The joy had been sucked out of it, replaced by a bitter emptiness. Friends would call, asking about Serafina's song, innocently praising it, and I'd just mumble something vague, change the subject, or simply stop answering their calls. It was easier to disappear than to face their unwitting cruelty. I stopped sharing my music, even with Liam, retreating further into myself. My parents noticed, of course, but their attempts at comfort felt hollow, laced with their own unspoken belief that I was just being difficult. "Maybe you should just let it go, Alara," my mom suggested gently one evening, trying to be helpful. "Serafina is really thriving and you seem so unhappy." Thriving on my tears, I thought bitterly. But beneath the despair, a tiny ember of defiance started to glow. If I couldn't fight her legally, if my family wouldn't believe me, then I would find another way. A more potent, undeniable way. This wouldn't be about lawyers or courtrooms, it would be about truth. My truth. The idea of a public exposé, meticulously planned and perfectly timed, began to take root in my mind. It was a dangerous thought, but also, strangely, a comforting one. It gave me a purpose, a quiet resolve in the face of my helplessness. I started to document everything, every single piece of evidence I had, my original demo recordings, time-stamped files showing when they were created, earlier rough vocal takes. Even old text messages with Serafina where I'd mentioned the song or shared ideas. Liam, seeing the determined glint in my eye, understood without words. He quietly helped me gather and organize the digital evidence, creating backups, ensuring everything was irrefutable. We found an old video of me playing a rough version of the song for Nana, just weeks before she passed, her fragile smile captured on screen. It was raw, shaky, but undeniable proof. My revenge, I decided, wouldn't be loud or aggressive initially. It would be silent, precise, and devastating. Serafina, meanwhile, was soaring. She signed with a small independent label, Aurora Records, a big step up from her bedroom recordings. The news spread like wildfire through our extended family. There was a huge celebration, a dinner at Aunt Carol's house, and I was expected to attend. I went, painting on a smile, forcing myself to offer polite congratulations. "Oh, Alara, so glad you came." Serafina gushed, throwing her arms around me, a sickeningly sweet tone in her voice. "Isn't this just amazing? All my hard work finally paying off. It's what happens when you truly dedicate yourself to your craft, you know." Her eyes, though, held a flash of something else, a smug, knowing triumph that made my blood run cold. She was enjoying my quiet suffering, reveling in her stolen success. I just smiled, a hollow, empty smile, and murmured, "Congratulations, Serafina. That's wonderful news." My feigned support felt like a betrayal of myself, but it was part of the plan. I had to lull her into a false sense of security, let her bask in her glory, before I pulled the rug out from under her. The tension was almost unbearable, but I held it in, letting my quiet resolve harden into steel. Weeks turned into months. Serafina's initial single continued to do well, and she was heavily promoting her upcoming album. I, on the other hand, was quietly working, refining my version of Echoes of a Whisper. I wasn't just going to re-release the old demo, I was going to elevate it, polish it, but keep its raw, authentic heart intact. Liam was my co-conspirator, my partner in this silent war. We worked late nights in my garage, him offering his technical expertise, me pouring all my renewed passion and a newfound, steely resolve into every recording. We recorded new vocals, cleaner, stronger, but still carrying the weight of the original emotion. We even started filming a simple music video, not flashy or expensive, but intimate, showing the genuine process, clips of me writing the song, strumming the guitar, talking about Nana, all woven together to emphasize its undeniable authenticity. It was a painstaking, cathartic process, and with every note, every frame, I felt a piece of my stolen identity returning. Then, one afternoon, out of the blue, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. "Hello, this is Mr. Elias Thorne from Zenith Music," the voice on the other end said, professional and calm. "We happened to come across some of your older demos online, some early recordings you shared years ago, actually. We were very impressed by your raw talent, Alara. Your sound, your voice, it's truly unique. We'd be interested in discussing a potential collaboration, maybe even a contract, if you're open to it." My heart leaped into my throat. Zenith Music was a smaller, but highly respected, indie label known for nurturing authentic artists. This was an incredible opportunity, completely unrelated to Serafina's drama. A genuine path forward, offered directly to me, for my original work. It was a lifeline. It offered a platform, a legitimate way to launch my career. But after a moment of exhilarating shock, a different thought solidified. This wasn't just about me succeeding. It was about justice. "Mr. Thorne," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "I'm incredibly flattered, truly. And yes, I'm very interested. But I'm actually working on a very personal project right now, something I feel needs a precise, strategic release. Would you be open to discussing it further, perhaps in a few months, with a specific release strategy in mind?" He sounded surprised but intrigued. "Well, that's unusual, but intriguing. Yes, Alara, let's schedule a meeting in a couple of months. We're patient when we believe in an artist." A sly smile crept onto my face. The pieces were falling into place. My revenge wouldn't just be a desperate act, it would be a strategic strike, backed by genuine talent and a powerful new ally. The wait was agonizing, but it would be worth it. The months crawled by, each day feeling like a tightrope walk. Serafina's album release date was finally announced, October 27th. The family was buzzing, all talk focused on her, her upcoming success, her new life. Aunt Carol called me almost daily, talking about the pre-orders, the radio plays, the interviews. She's going to be huge, Alara. Imagine, our little Seth, a real pop star. Her voice, full of pride, grated on my nerves. I forced myself to nod, to smile faintly during video calls, to offer hollow words of encouragement. The deception, the constant suppression of my true feelings, was exhausting. I felt like I was wearing a mask that was slowly suffocating me. The night before the album drop, Aunt Carol threw a huge family party at her house, a pre-release celebration. I knew I had to go, to maintain the facade, to witness Serafina's moment of perceived glory before it all came crashing down. The house was packed, filled with laughing relatives, twinkling lights, and the cloying scent of lilies. Serafina was in her element, basking in the adoration, holding court in the living room, a literal spotlight on her. She wore a shimmering dress, her smile wide and artificial, almost a caricature of joy. She spotted me across the room, her eyes glinting with a familiar, smug superiority. She glided over, a champagne flute in her hand. "Alara, so glad you could make it," she chirped, her voice just a little too loud. "Still making your little tunes in the garage, honey? Or have you finally given up on that childish dream?" She took a slow sip, her gaze daring me to react. The insult stung, a fresh wound on old scars. "I'm still making music, Serafina," I replied, my voice calm, unwavering. "I'm just waiting for the right moment to share it." Her eyebrows arched, a flicker of suspicion in her eyes, but she quickly dismissed it. "Well, don't wait too long, darling. The world moves fast. Some of us are just born to shine, you know? Others, they just fade away." She squeezed my arm, a fake gesture of affection that felt more like a threat, then moved on to another adoring relative. My stomach churned. The pressure was immense. Every part of me wanted to scream, to expose her right there, in front of everyone. But I held it in, the quiet strength that had built up over months keeping me rooted. This wasn't about a public outburst. It was about precision, about timing. Liam's words echoed in my head. "Revenge is a dish best served cold, Alara." And public. I excused myself, finding a quiet corner in the garden, taking deep, shaky breaths. Tomorrow. It all happened tomorrow. The waiting, the planning, the silent suffering, it would all pay off. Or it would all be for nothing. The stakes felt impossibly high, my entire future, her entire career, hanging in the balance. I felt sick, but also a fierce, unwavering resolve. October 27th dawned, clear and cold. Serafina's album, Radiant Echoes, officially dropped at midnight. By morning, social media was abuzz. Her lead single, Whispers in the Dark, was already climbing the charts, generating buzz. The comments were overwhelmingly positive, praising her originality, her deep emotional insight. Each positive comment was a fresh stab, but I steeled myself. This was the moment. Liam and I had worked tirelessly, coordinating the release of my song, my version, for maximum impact. We were aiming for 10 a.m., just enough time for Serafina's single to get some traction, to build up her false momentum, before my truth hit like a tsunami. At 10 a.m. exactly, Liam pressed the button. My version of Echoes of a Whisper, along with its raw, heartfelt music video, went live across all streaming platforms and social media. The post was simple, the original truth behind Whispers in the Dark. For Nana. For every artist whose voice was silenced. Within minutes, the first comments started trickling in. "Wait, this sounds so familiar, but better. Is this Serafina's song?" Then, the floodgates opened. Liam had also prepared a compelling social media thread, complete with screenshots of my time-stamped files, early demo recordings, even the shaky video of me singing it for Nana. He meticulously laid out the evidence, side-by-side comparisons of our lyrics, our melodies. The internet, ever hungry for drama and authenticity, latched onto it with ferocity. Chaos erupted. People started doing split-screen videos, comparing my raw, emotional vocals and authentic production to Serafina's polished, yet hollow-feeling, version. The truth was undeniable. My voice carried the pain, the love, the origin of the song. Her version, stripped of its true source, suddenly sounded manufactured. The comments exploded. OMG, this is the original. She copied her cousin? Serafina is a fraud. Within an hour, Alara and Echoes of a Whisper were trending. The views on my video started climbing, first in the thousands, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. I watched, my heart pounding, a strange mix of terror and exhilarating vindication surging through me. Then my phone rang. It was Serafina. Her voice, usually so composed, was shrill, laced with panic and fury. How could you, Alara? What have you done? You ruined everything. My album, my career, it's all gone. You did this. Her accusations were a torrent, but they held no power over me anymore. You stole my everything first, Serafina, I said, my voice surprisingly steady, firm, calm. You stole my song, my pain, my trust. This isn't me ruining your career. This is me taking back what was always mine. This is just me finally speaking my truth. There was a choked sob on her end, then a guttural scream of rage before she hung up. My video hit 1 million views. Then 5 million. Then 10 million. It was going viral. The truth was out, raw and undeniable. Next, my phone rang again, this time an unknown number. Alara, this is Mr. Alistair. I'm the head of A&R at Aurora Records. We need to talk, immediately. His voice was tight, stressed, utterly devoid of the usual industry pleasantries. My artist, Serafina, is currently under heavy scrutiny because of your claims. What exactly is going on here? I took a deep breath, my composure completely back. This was my moment. Mr. Alistair, I began, calm and precise, I haven't made claims. I have presented irrefutable evidence that Serafina stole my copyrighted song, Echoes of a Whisper, repackaged it as Whispers in the Dark, and released it as her own. I have original timestamped recordings, compositional notes, and witness testimony from my producer. I also have family videos of me performing the song years ago. All of this material, clearly predating Serafina's release, is now publicly available. Your label has released stolen intellectual property. I could almost hear him sweat through the phone. This is a very serious allegation, Alara. We will investigate this thoroughly. You'll find everything you need online, sir, I replied, a small, knowing smile on my face. The truth speaks for itself. The fallout was swift and brutal. Within hours, news outlets picked up the story. Major music blogs and entertainment sites were running headlines like, Pop star's debut album marred by plagiarism claims, cousin drops original song. Serafina's social media was flooded with angry comments. Her label, facing a PR nightmare and undeniable evidence, had no choice. That afternoon, Mr. Alistair called me again, his voice weary. Alara, we've reviewed the evidence. It's damning. We're pulling Serafina's album from all platforms, effective immediately. Her contract has been terminated. A cold knot of fear and apprehension twisted in my stomach. It was over. Justice, in its own brutal way, had been served. The family reaction initially was predictable. Aunt Carol called, screaming, "How could you do this, Alara? You ruined your cousin's life." But then, as the evidence became impossible to ignore, as her friends and neighbors started asking questions, as the silence from her label became deafening, something shifted. Uncle David, usually so dismissive, watched my video, then his face went pale. He confronted Serafina. The truth, when it's that undeniable, has a way of cutting through denial. They saw the timestamps, the old photos, the raw emotion in my original performance. The silence from Aunt Carol and Uncle David became heavier, laced with shame and quiet anger at their daughter. Serafina, humiliated and exposed, faded into obscurity. Her dream, built on a lie, had crumbled. My story, however, was just beginning. Zenith Music, the indie label that had contacted me months ago, was now calling nonstop, eager to sign me. They saw the viral moment, but more importantly, they heard the genuine talent, the authenticity that resonated so deeply with people. My version of Echoes of a Whisper became a quiet anthem for truth and integrity, finding its way onto indie playlists and even a few primetime TV shows. I signed with them, not out of spite, but out of a renewed passion for creating, for sharing my voice, my truth. I learned to protect my art fiercely, to trust my gut, and to never let anyone diminish my worth. The pain of Serafina's betrayal had been immense, but it had also forged something stronger in me, a resilience I didn't know I possessed. It felt like I finally found my true voice, you know? What's a moment you felt truly heard, even when no one wanted to listen? Share it below, I'm really curious.